Thank you.
I've been here.
Next time, 18 points. Kim, we might as well come over.
We're gonna meet.
I tried to do a member of the committee then.
Sarah, we need to.
Yeah, but, and then. A lot of friends from the area.
Yeah, I think we are,
So what,
2
ages did you teach?
I was not, so I'm looking at, yeah.
In what was in?
Dwayne's coming.
Wait, coming.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need another copy then.
okay.
Actually, you can have a color copy and I can just, or should I just make copies?
He's not gonna be here till 6:30, so we're probably gonna be fine. So I'm gonna get him one after, but.
Okay.
You can worry about it right now.
And then we also.
Alright.
So that was kids there.
Alright, Dwayne's not gonna be able to join us till 6:30, so, we're gonna just go ahead and get going. Would anybody be willing to take notes? of Today's meeting, thank you to Terry for doing the previous one.
I can do it.
That'll be awesome. I think that would be awesome. So I thought since we have, 2 new members, we could just go around and, introduce yourself and, if you'd like to say anything about why you're on the committee or why you wanted to be on the committee, that would be fine too, or anything you think is relevant, but just want to make sure that everybody knows each other. Tracy, would you like to start?
I'm Tracy Whitney. I'm a new member of the school committee. And, I just feel like it's really important to have fresh eyes on situations as well, and I'm brand new, so I'll have some fresh eyes for things.
I'm Willard Morgan. I'm filling a seat that's a non-resident at-large member, but I do have a background in education. Until 22, I was head of Chilwaukee, and now I'm an organizational consultant. And so hopefully can bring those 2 types of perspectives and expertise to the group to help you achieve the mission.
I'm Jason Bond, currently the chair of the school committee. And I'm just interested in all things concerning the school.
Terry Keller, I'm a selectman, and I'm interested in all things in the school and the town. How's that?
Me? Deb?
Yes, I'm Deb Cooler, and I worked in the schools for 35 years here in Wiscasset, and it's my first love. I mean, I love my husband too, but it's my first love. I just love the schools, and I want to make sure that if they stay in town, that it's what we should do, and if they don't, then it's what we should do. I'm here not for the schools, I'm here for the kids. I want to make sure they're getting what they need. So, again, that's why I'm here.
Beth Lusso, new parent member. I have a 6th grader and I'm here because I think that our schools are important and I want to help determine the best course of action for them.
I'm Doug Merrill. I'm the representative at large, contractor in town. I just want to do what's best for the community and schools, especially the kids.
I'm Kim Anderson, I'm the superintendent.
And Pat Cloutier, is hoping to make it, but I think other than that, and other than her and Dwayne, I think that's everybody, so great to have a fully staffed committee. So in terms of last meeting, I sent around the notes a couple of times, hopefully everyone had a chance to read them. But one of the major things that, we wanted to come back to, which goes to what Kim just handed out, is an update to the first report that was put out last year. So Kim, I don't know if you wanna just go ahead and dive in and let us know what you changed.
Sure, so what you have are 3 pages of a spreadsheet that looks fairly similar. The first page was the numbers based on the 2024 approved budget. This really hasn't changed from the last time we were together, except that we changed the number of students. for 9 to 12, and we also added the revenue impact at the bottom. So you see the little square at the bottom. When we consider these changes to our bottom line as a town, we have to also consider the revenue. So if we were to eliminate high school, then we would eliminate the tuition that we receive for students. So if you look at the bottom, and I also want to emphasize, these are estimates. These numbers are estimates. I think, yeah.
So
If you look at the bottom line, for 2024, based on that operating budget, the bottom line being all the way down to the right, you see negative 363,801. That would be the savings based on these estimated numbers if you were to close the high school, not close the high school, but close grades 9 to 12 and tuition them out. Then if you jump down all the way to the bottom right where it says financial impact, if you take out the tuition revenue, then you mix the total loss of revenue with the total savings, which would cost $28,801. If you look at the next page, you've got, and this is where I think things get more interesting. You've got 2 pages that are 2025 estimates. One of them is with operating Wiscasset Elementary School, and the last page is without operating Wiscasset Elementary School. So it would be, if we were looking at a spreadsheet, I would draw your attention to line 14. It's facilities, and you see that if we were to maintain the 2 buildings, but tuition out our students in 9 to 12, then we would reduce facilities by $64,050, which is just based on, reduced occupancy costs and field maintenance. If we were to actually eliminate Wiscasset Elementary School, what I did was I just took the total facilities and operations budget for that building. So that would be your electricity, your oil, the cost of 3 custodians, all of their benefits. And then, Siemens Energy, elevator maintenance, like all of the things that are associated with the building on Federal Street. And that budgeted amount is $505,731. So in that scenario, which is the last page, if you were to tuition out, students, and this number was based on 104 students. I think now it's probably more like, if we were gonna count it up today, it would be like 96. So there's a few $1,000s difference there, but I think for an estimate, this is fair. You would get a savings to the town of $657,000, but then figure in again the loss of tuition, and that comes down to a final impact of $305,368. So an estimated savings of $305,368 if you were gonna close the elementary school building and tuition out 9 to 12.
Overall question for the new box, are
For the which box?
the new box at the bottom, the revenue?
Yes,
So those are based on the number of students that you took out previously
these are based on, this is the revenue we get. So we have.
from the non-Wiscasset students.
Yes.
Okay.
We have students that pay tuition to attend Wiscasset. And so if you close 9 to 12, you would lose that revenue.
And how that number goes up in 25, is that just based on what you're estimating
Yes,
for, that we would just have more?
yes. It looks like it's gone up by 1. And so I had Kathy Coffey, my business manager, run these numbers, but that looks like it's roughly 1 student. I'm not sure what she did with special ed. Again, these are estimates. We are, we're not gonna put hours and hours into this beyond what we've done because we have a lot of other work to do. So we would need to figure out like our cost structure or something to balance out the time that like Kathy Coffey is looking at this. If you wanted to get to really into the nitty gritty, I don't think you need to do that for this discussion. You can see that if you close a building, there are some savings, but there are definitely gonna be costs that arise that we're not thinking of right now. Just like when we closed the primary school building.
Just to be clear, based on the savings of closing the school, but the loss of revenue, it's gonna cost us 28 grand.
That would be if you did not close the elementary school, but
Right.
still maintains two
That costs
buildings.
28 grand more than it would if we kept it.
Yeah, based on these
Second year, It's
estimates.
gonna cost us 136,300.
And then,
Yeah.
right, if you keep the school, but if you shut the building down, you save 300,000.
Right.
That's the third page.
If,
That's if you shut both schools down,
No.
now that's if you shut one school down on the third page.
without operating, what?
If you,
So,
yeah,
first is-
presuming, now, none of this takes into account the additional costs, like I didn't think of that, what would be the additional costs of operating pre-K to 8 in the high school building? And that's another step, but if you want me to do that, then we have to talk about how we fund that for investigation.
Others can argue with me, but was my understanding from the beginning that this is what was supposed to be this first report. This was not supposed to be a huge study. It was supposed to be just get the basic numbers, the best assumptions we can do for this part, and then if we did go this route, then we would go much deeper.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have to figure out what route we're gonna take first.
Right, but this was the first question that we as a committee were asked to answer, so.
Well, just double checking, the first page, it looks like that should be a negative under financial impact, so there would be a small savings on the first page. That would be negative 28, it looks like. Because it's
In the
negative
lower box. That's
Yeah.
why-
yeah,
that's why I'm-
28,000 into one, that would be the cost, it's opposite,
That's what it's gonna cost us.
yes.
Oh.
Well, savings is negative 360, it's just I think there's just a formula error, because the loss of revenue is 335, but the saving is negative
And
363.
is the difference between 335 and 363 not 28,801?
Yeah. but it's a
Yeah,
small
Right, that
savings.
would be negative.
It would just be a negative, I'm just trying to get the
Okay,
details, so that would be a negative, but then the second page, that's correct, that would be that
let me
would
go to the
be,
source.
that would be positive, so it would cost more, and then the last page is
Second page
correct,
is positive.
and the last page is negative, so,
Those were correct.
yeah. So it's just a slight, so there'd be slight savings, very small savings on the first page, a cost on the second page, and a larger savings on the third page.
25.
So just checking that, I just think there's a formula error on the first page.
I don't know, it's the same in all three boxes. Oh, no, it's not. Thank you, Willard, I'll take that out, Okay.
Just for the record.
yeah.
So if we could put, a narrative with this. Cause that was the other piece that we needed to update, so not only the chart, but.
Oh, I didn't work on a narrative. So then you couldn't do the narrative.
I wasn't gonna do a public comment, but do you have a question?
I
Jenny?
have a question.
Okay,
I see that you're using the same number of students, for both years.
Yeah, you could adjust.
Well, it should be adjusted because we have a pretty steady downward trajectory of tuition, admission. I mean, your budget report from spring indicated over the last decade that we have a 28%
Yeah,
decline in enrollment, and it's pretty steady,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I didn't write a narrative beyond, the explanation in the boxes for what was happening, but if, I think you did the bigger narrative of the report. You did that piece
I can,
originally.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can attempt to write it, and can I send it to you, and you can tell me if that reflects accurately?
Well, you can.
Just, I need to re-release the report, we have to update the narrative part, so it reflects
Yeah.
this. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying, so
So-
somebody's gotta write it.
Okay, yeah, you can send it to me and I'll review what you write.
Okay.
I cannot write it. I do not, it's fine,
That's why I'm volunteering.
perfect.
Okay, any other questions on updates? Thank you, Kevin,
Yes. you're welcome.
and thank you, Kathy. All right, so the next big thing that we need to talk about is basically the direction of the committee in terms of the actual process we want to use to gather information and then put together a report. I know Willard just had some ideas, and I've mentioned to Dwayne a couple times, that I kind of agreed in terms of it might be helpful to bring in some guest speakers, whether it's, head of Lincoln Academy or, someone from the state, in terms of consolidation or other options, or basically just sort of experts in the field so that we could get some of the bigger questions asked and answered, both from the board and also public participation. So, I had attached the, sort of original proposal that, we looked at with, which we've now just about completed the first one, which was answering the financial impact on a basic level of tuitioning out grades 9 through 12. And then another one that we had talked about was connecting with Dresden, and I was curious, Kim, if, those conversations had restarted at all.
Well, Dresden had a future Dresden School Committee, and they finished their report. It took them 18 months to put together, and they actually had a meeting and reviewed their report with the community on Monday, a week ago today. So I attended that meeting, and what they came up with in that meeting were 4 options for Dresden. Option 1 is to remain a member of RSU2. The second option would be to withdraw from RSU2 and close their elementary school and tuition out K to 12. Option 3 would be to create their own school district and maintain an elementary school and then tuition out, I think it's 6 to 12, it might be 7 to 12. Yeah, and then the last option was to join another school district. And so talk with Wiscasset came up in that meeting, but now they take those 4 options to their select board, and the select board will tell them what direction they would want them to go, and then they will dive deeper into that.
Thank you.
How many students? in
They have
the-
120 students, K to 12.
K to 12.
Yeah.
Roughly 10 everybody.
Yeah, and if you
Those are-
were, yeah,
So I mentioned, the state, and there's an opportunity that I think you're already aware of, that the state is interested in, soliciting applications, basically, for a possible regional 9 through 16, I think, right? With a,
tech center,
with a tech center.
yes.
And so one of the things I was hoping that the committee would entertain is that we could ask the state person who's listed as heading this
Scott
up, yeah, to come and talk to us, just to hear more about what that is.
You said 9 through 16?
Yeah,
I can tell you what Scott Brown will say, that this opportunity exists and they're looking for, you need to come to them with the governance. How will this new regional school district be managed? And that is where, most all plans fall apart. So I've already talked to him about it because I've been talking to other superintendents about it and what would make sense for us. Because wouldn't it be neat to have a brand new regional high school located on the 27 corridor, whether it was in Wiscasset or Dresden, and then with a tech center, and then creating a tri-region tech collaborative where you could have kids go in all 3 directions, right? So to Morris, Coney, and Wiscasset, that's kind of like the dream. But what we would need to do is we would need to have our partners commit to 100% attending this school. And we are surrounded by towns that have school choice. So we would need to negotiate who our partners were and then have those towns withdraw from their arrangement now and then agree to attend this new regional school. And in the mix, what I would propose is closing Wiscasset High School, and then you create a whole new entity and it's a regional school. If Dresden decides to withdraw from RSU2, that process takes 2 to 3 years. And our other likely neighbors, would be Westport Island, Ulm, and Whitefield. Basically recreating the school union that was dismantled in 1998, going back to those glory days. But then you would need to get them to give up their school choice and commit. However, that's Scott Brown's opinion, and he's not the only person that works at the park, at the DOE. So could we push the envelope? Could we ask for a scenario that's different than that and maybe have someone agree with? Sure, anything's possible.
You don't have to have all of that before the application, correct?
You do. You
Then
need
how
to
could
have a
anyone
plan.
put together an application by June?
Exactly. Exactly, Sarah, like that's it, that's
I
it.
was gonna say, sounds like it's good to know.
I mean, that's it, and so we can go and talk to him together, he has office hours on the first Monday of every month. We can sit in his office and pick his brain, or he actually does it online as well by Zoom. But yeah, we would need, and I feel like if we were gonna do that, like there is a lot of interest from our friends at RSU 12. But their communities are probably not gonna wanna give up their choice, and it's the same thing with, say, we were gonna put it in Edgecombe. Edgecombe has already flat out said they're not giving up high school choice. Booth Bay is not in the mix right now, like we've had those conversations and been in their meetings, so. Yeah, this grant is an amazing opportunity, finding dance partners is gonna be the tricky part.
Yeah, I felt like it might make sense to just bring him to one of these meetings,
Sure.
just.
He can tell you all about it.
Sure, everything you said is correct,
Yeah.
but just so people can ask other questions or he can,
Yeah.
you know, expand on whatever, but. Just because it is one of the major options and sort of combines a number of ideas that people have thrown out.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you never know with other towns, I feel like, in terms of the current board in one town might not be in favor of whatever option now, but they may or may not represent what the public feels. I don't know,
Oh, definitely.
so. Willard, did you wanna mention the couple of folks that you were interested, you said one of them was the head of Lincoln Academy, I think?
Yeah, I just reached out because of prior professional relationships. I just reached out to head of Lincoln and Superintendent RSU. One, just saying this is happening. Would they be willing to provide more information? I know you talked to them about various things too, but they both said they're happy to help respond to questions or come to a meeting. So I didn't get specific private information. I just wanted to open that door but I think the thing to know is each of those schools were built for a certain capacity and they're both close to capacity. So I think that's the part to think about in terms of going to choice. It's not like there's tons of options actually in terms of capacity. So I think that's why it would be worthwhile. Plus they're different models. One's academy, one's RSU. So just hearing about what their limits and criteria and factors could be useful, or they could also respond to questions that came from the committee. So again, I didn't ask questions because it's really the committee's job to ask those questions, but they are aware and ready if there's things that that the committee wants to learn.
If you brought in one of the schools, you'd have to bring in somebody from each of the ones that we're looking at. You couldn't just bring one, Lincoln Academy in to talk to us, you'd have to bring different,
Like
you know,
what?
like, the state, like you said, have him come in, we need to look.
Oh,
at the
yeah.
timing.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not all on the same night, or you.
No, this would be a process, cause and this will probably be boring for you, cause I know you've already had a lot of these conversations, but part of the point is I wanna make sure that our committee gets the chance to ask all the questions about each of the options out there, and that the public gets a chance to ask as well. So, and just the more information we have, the more we can put in a final report. So, and that's not to say that the head of Lincoln Academy knows everything about the academy model, but they're the closest one. It would be helpful to hear from them. So does that sound like at least one forward step that people will be interested in, is inviting
Well,
folks?
if we're gonna consider school choice, we need to talk to the schools that will be the choice.
Right.
To see what our options are there. Do they even have the capacity to handle, just taking 100 students out into the world.
Right, we can't just
That's,
let them
that's a
go.
lot for two schools to absorb.
You also
And they're
don't,
running their capacity.
yeah,
Plus some will go to Booth Bay, I'm sure, and others may go to Richmond. But, you know, that's kind of the 4 schools that would be the main recipient of, I think.
if you're gonna close a school, we can't close the school, right? So the school committee can vote to take action on that, but it will never be approved by the state without a plan. The plan would have to be approved by the state before they let you do that. So you'd have to find somebody who would be willing to absorb all of your
But
students,
that's what I'm
just like
talking,
we do for RZ 12.
we would have to talk with these people and find out where could they go.
Yeah,
And have a plan in place, then you, I mean, you're not gonna even, what would you even put it up to vote until you knew you had a way to follow through?
yeah, you couldn't,
Exactly.
you wouldn't be able to.
Can you segregate the schools? So like if you were to take Wiscasset and like break it up into like quarters, could you have some kids go to Richmond, some go to Lincoln Academy, some go to Bath, some go to Booth Bay? Is that something that's
Well, the school of choice.
I mean, it would be up to the parents.
I was gonna say,
Have
how
a
would you
choice.
determine?
It would be up to the receiving school. Like,
Yeah,
just
but I
because you have
think-
choice doesn't mean you get to go anywhere you want, you have to be accepted by that school.
Right, but
So-
chances are all 100 kids wouldn't go to the same school, because not, one school couldn't take all of them, in other
Right, but
words.
the state would make us have someone who would take all of them, like you would have to have that in place, they're not gonna leave it up to good chance.
No, and it wouldn't be fair. What if my kid wanted to go to one of the schools and they got left out because another kid went? It doesn't work like that. So I would think.
I think we
that-
also have to consider I know we're doing this as one step, but the cultural impact of losing our school to save $300,000.
Well, the question, I mean, the superintendent, you know, you must have a plan or a vision of how you want the schools to progress and how you grow them. I'm sure you're working on that.
Yeah,
That was gonna be my point tonight. I just wanted to speak up now. I don't know if I get a chance later, but I feel like, have we given up all, ways to grow our school and to make our school stronger then? Have we exhausted all efforts, and have we looked at what we could do here in Wiscasset? I mean, the schools have always been a big, strong thing in Wiscasset. And once you lose your schools in a town, you might look around at communities that have lost their high schools. It's a different story. So personally, it's not that I'm saying we need to keep our school open, but we need to look at what we really lose. It's not about money. It's not all about money. It's about community. And I think we really gotta look at that.
So what I was gonna say next was the last meeting, we had sort of had people sign up with sort of current operations, expansion and consolidation. You can rename those, I guess, but in terms of folks who would be interested in looking into, and like, for example, would go off and make a list of, here's the people we should be talking to. Here's the plans for what we could do to keep the high school and expand it. Here's the plans for if we did do consolidation or whatever. So I'm wondering if that would be a good way to help divide up the work, but also make sure that we're not missing anything. Cause those are sort of the 3 main buckets that are the charge of the committee. So status quo, meaning not closing or doing anything like that.
We can't go
That's
on.
what I'm saying. Status quo is keeping the high school the way it is. And
That's what- Yeah,
Well, I'm not even saying keeping it the way it is. I'm saying what can we do to keep it,
Keep it in town.
Period. period. Not the way it is, but how can we make it better? Seeing communities do a lot of things in my lifetime on own, and I think that there's a lot that we can do. And I'd like to be part of that effort if it can be done before I die.
Oh my God, geez. Every meeting you tell us that working.
That's not-
You just retired.
That's not a long, that's not a short time period, between now and that.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, God,
So is that of interest? I mean, I know everybody is eager to get going, and I want people to leave the meeting tonight with some things to do and bring back information.
So do exactly what?
So the idea would be, a couple of people to, however many people, but a subcommittee, I guess.
Right.
Would go off and so for example, Deb wants to, let's say she wants to look at, okay, if we kept the high school and what are opportunities or things we could do to expand it or keep it here, et cetera, whatever that means.
That's the status.
That's what I'm, that's the status quo, that's how.
Okay, so I'll make one suggestion, and it's sort of a tangent, but we need more housing in town. We could have more students if we had more places for people to live. I mean, some people have moved away this year, they've simply moved away, and I don't know why. You know, obviously, we've lost some students because they're unhappy, but we've also lost people that maybe lost their place to live. So I think that has a lot to do with it, that there's not enough students, not only because people don't have any kids anymore, but because there's nowhere to live around here. Maybe, I was really hoping, when I was on a planning board, you know, ORC several years ago, and the town voted for this, for the old school, as the primary school, was gonna be mixed age housing. It was gonna be apartments and elderly housing, and then, of course, it got sold, and COVID happened, and it got sold, and then the new owners, I believe, I'm not sure, but stuck with the memory care, and so we're gonna have, maybe, isn't that what that place is?
It's independent living too.
Right, so it's
It's-
really not students living in there, is what I'm saying, so we're having this huge new housing, but none of it's for working.
And it's
families.
without, it's outside of the reach of most people with children, if they even did allow people to live there.
I think there's an age thing too.
Yeah, and that's an age thing.
It's not.
So I mean, I know
But what
there's a need
about
for that.
teachers? Even teachers, we don't have apartments for teachers here. I've done, so many people have come here and said, I can't work here because there's nowhere to live.
So I agree, that's a big issue. That's one that's gonna touch all of them though, I think,
Mhm.
in terms of all of the options, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a big issue with the economy. I mean,
Isn't Aaron doing some kind of future of, or no, what's it, the Great American City Street or something? There's like something happening in Wisconsin.
that was from that headline. Is that what you're talking about?
Talking about some plan to create a neighborhood with mixed age housing over, I'm
Yeah.
assuming over by Point East.
Yeah, 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 so I mean, he's working on possible options for that and
Housing's huge.
I know BIW probably saw, they're working on housing as well,
Yeah.
so.
I know Camden School District has purchased a building and converted it into housing for staff. So they're in the process of doing it now, but, that's how difficult it is to find reasonable housing in the mid-coast for people who, don't make a ton of money, teachers don't make a ton of money, so.
One thing's looking into workforce housing over by, is it Paradigm? For a while.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
the
the
very-
Point East,
Paradigm,
yes.
yeah.
So what are the other two working groups too? Just get back to that, one is that status quo and then the other two.
So, no, we labeled it expansion and consolidation, but that doesn't really make sense.
That's confusing.
So one would be fully tuitioning out. And then another would be some sort of regional cooperation or whatever you want.
Yeah, there's a need for it, like the location here, there's a demand. That would be a great thing. That
And I'm
would be
sure there's
great.
other options, but
Those are three.
those are probably the three biggest.
Our current building is centrally located, I mean.
And it's
that's
in
true.
really good shape. One thing that we've done, and, not me, I've only been there for a year and a half, but the town has done a great job of funding the school department to take care of that building. It's in good shape.
I think a lot of that can be attributed to John Merritt.
John Mary, 100%, and he always keeps his eye on like what's best for the buildings, and that's something that we have, our friends at Booth Bay do not have. And that's why they're in really rough shape right now, because, 12 years ago, when, some school committee decided to quit kicking the can down the road, they started doing repairs, and it just never happened on the peninsula. So we're lucky in that regard.
Okay, so we've got status quo, I guess expanding. Tuitioning out, which is where that group could look into the idea of where would they go. And then regional options.
And what's the status of Richmond? Richmond just withdrew from its own RSU,
RSU two.
RSU two,
Which
and
is the
they're now
same
our
as
new
Johnson.
school district again, like Wiscasset was in
Yes.
13 or 14 when they
Yes.
came out. And how many students do they have over there? how many, they must have room in the high school, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying they can't
I
be
don't
packed
know.
with people, I don't know, just seems like kind of.
I think they're in the same boat that we were in when we first withdrew. So they just got a new superintendent, like who just started, so. I have not talked to her.
Beth Pat is online, so you can add her to being here. Okay, so are there folks who would like to work on those? And my thought, I'm very open to suggestions, but my thought is you get together with your group of 2 or 3 people or however many, talk about who are the different players that we should be speaking to, what are the different things that we need to come back to the table with?
I volunteered to the status quo.
Okay,
Oh, gosh, me too. How many can we get to?
well, let's just go through and we'll reorganize if we need to. All right, so status quo, who's interested? Jason?
Yeah, and Sarah, I'll do that since that's my job,
Okay,
not maintaining the status quo, but
yeah,
running the school.
the current,
Actually,
current
status quo.
schools, I guess.
Current school.
Yeah.
all right, Terry
Mhm.
and Deb? Anyone else? Okay,
I'm happy to be put wherever, like I said, instead of eyes, wanting to.
tuitioning out. Doug?
I could have help.
I'll do that.
Tracy? Anybody else know? Regional?
I'll do region.
Okay.
Me?
Pat, are you for regional?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is that packed clear?
That is.
Yeah, well, we're gonna put Dwayne on tuition out. That's what he gets.
Yes.
Yeah, and I can help with any of them, okay.
Yeah, I can help with any of them too, like there's so many things that just by virtue of the job that I have, I can help you with or point you in the right direction. So please don't hesitate to by the office.
Start with the tuition out group, I could just share a couple things in terms of process that I learned from. Sure. So just to inform your steps, so.
So in terms of, next steps, just to make sure we keep moving, would you all be okay if I contacted Scott Brown and see if he can attend at least via Zoom for the next meeting? We'll start with that one since it's out there.
Sure.
Okay.
Just a question, I don't know if you have a thought on this, but would you want to invite folks from surrounding communities or just keep it here? Because that's a regional grant, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. We have some, at least one folks from another town.
Just wondering, because if you need other folks, other towns to make it go, you want folks to live down.
It feels premature to me, but if you wanna do that,
You know, because I think right now at this stage, no. I think we need to figure it out a little bit ourselves before, because we're not invited to other towns to sit in their communities. Or to
Oh,
listen.
I don't
I mean,
mean
it's
it in the
public.
committee, it's
No, no,
public, so,
public, yeah.
but I don't know that it's a bad idea to just put it
out.
make sure it's out there, that like, if he can come, that he's gonna be here, so. You can come listen if you're
Yeah.
interested.
And we were invited to the ALS 98
Yeah,
long-term
Okay.
planning committee,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
and Dresden came to us to talk.
so I did 2 of those.
And I think if it's out there in the public, they'll know and can come.
The dialogue can't hurt.
no,
If we have an idea of who we want to be in this stuff, then they can get a little bit of preemptive information.
yeah, exactly. We signed you up for all of the subcommittees, or the reports due next week.
According to all three.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get to chair all 3 subcommittees.
right. We divided into status quo / expansion, which is basically the current physical situation and keeping our high school is here, tuitioning out as an option, and then regional options. So sort of going with what we were started with the last time. So I guess the expectation would be that if you can get together with your group at some point in the next month to get an outline of what you think the most important things are, the most important people, so that we can just start plugging away at each option and put together the report. And see what we need for public workshops and that kind of thing.
You'll send out notes really quickly so we can see our groups.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
So I had a timeline on here. I don't know what folks think is a reasonable timeline in terms of what you have going on in your lives. I mean, we'd like to get this done as efficiently as possible, but obviously it's gonna take a little bit of time to pull together everything and talk to the people we need to talk to and put the numbers together, but, so I don't know that we're ready to say when the report would be ready, but, yeah, so. If anybody has any thoughts on that?
Is February, I remember seeing the month of February, is there supposed to be something by then?
Yeah, I think, we can maybe forget that I said that. I mean, that would be great, but.
February 1 year.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, we don't wanna get that far.
But that month was also when you were trying to start it a few months ago, but then it took time to rebuild the committee, so.
Yeah.
In some ways it has to be later.
Yeah, we shifted that, yeah. Okay, so just as a recap, so I will, Kim did the updated numbers, I can tell you what all that is. I will take a stab at writing up the narrative that goes with it so that we can update the first report and we release it, so I will send it to you to fact check.
You just take the old narrative and revise it.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what I'm.
you don't have to write a new one.
No. Just that little section.
Yeah.
So we'll re-release that. We've got Jason, Terry, and Deb, for status quo for pushing out. We've got Doug, Tracy, and Dwayne. Unless you really don't want to. Regional options, Beth, Willard, and Pat. I will invite Scott Brown from Department of Ed.
I'm on
for-
status quo as well.
I'm sort of assuming you're, all of them sort of.
Kind of on all
Yeah.
The regional innovation one is the most exciting, I think.
If we can't get Scott Brown for the next one, I'll send out an email and we can see who else we'd like to ask instead, just so we don't lose any time. And we'll have someone else start. Does that sound like a plan moving forward?
So should we give the tuition out group permission to ask other administrators? If they simply have the room, to even consider, like, well, he didn't ask
Oh.
any questions on behalf.
To reach out to other schools?
Yeah, like to an academy or Morris, and that would be a quick.
I would say that's a question for Kim. I also don't want,
Yeah,
I don't want us to overstep our bounds either, because I know.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be no, no, yes, there's your answers, but, it's like Lincoln Morris would say no, Lupe would say yes, but, I think it might just cause confusion, because we're not closing our school, we don't have a plan to close our school. So asking people if we could tuition all of our kids to their school without, preempting that with an explanation of what this work. We're doing an investigation, what's the capacity like in your building?
Right.
Yeah,
That would be.
maybe ask about capacity.
Because we definitely would want something in the report in terms of, at this time, it appears that X and Y would not have capacity.
Yeah,
We believe there's a possibility at Z, that kind of,
I would suggest, and Kim, give your thoughts on this, that it would be best if the subgroup had a very short list of questions that they wanted to pose and the whole committee signed off on it.
that's
And
not a bad
then,
idea.
and then it was sent out at the same time, but short, not
Yep.
40 long, so 5, maybe 6, but that would be a process that I think would, and it could have a preamble, and all that, so that everyone was on the same page, and then they would feel better responding to that. So it's
I like that.
official,
Yeah.
short, concise,
Yeah.
focused,
almost like a survey.
but it's short.
Yeah, 3-4 questions.
Yeah, for sure. Part of this is chicken and egg, right?
Yeah.
And we can't actually start all the processes for each of the options.
Right.
But we've gotta have enough information to at least put out what the options entail.
Yeah,
So I
And
think
it-
that's a great idea.
an administrator wouldn't be able to say like, yes, we would accept all of your students like they can, they don't have that authority. Right.
Okay, so tuitioning out, folks.
Mhm.
Questions? You wanna bring those back, so Doug, Tracy, and Dwayne? If you wanna come up with some sample questions.
Yeah, 5 or 6 questions.
It'd make the process shorter if we knew, I mean, honestly, would we wanna save 300 grand? to go to a brand new school district that's struggling to get started, or to a school that's got similar issues than us, you know what I mean? I'm back to the cultural part, is it worth 300 grand? to
That's
just
not the point.
put out the high
It's not
school?
what we're
But that's-
researching.
I know, but I'm saying,
That's-
then you get to a point where you realize, okay,
Then we can make that determination. Say, okay, this is what we gotta go through, but it's gonna save us 300 grand, what we're saying.
I actually think that that is part of yours.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
right,
Absolutely.
Because some people may say yes or no, you don't know. $300 grand doesn't sound like much to you, but maybe to somebody else, if they know, you don't want, you know?
hey,
It is.
well, it used to sound like a much, but now we live in a different world of prices, you know, it's not that much money. It isn't,
All right,
I have 6 Subarus. A 6 brand new Subaru.
It's probably not one house, like it was kind of. The house is around 5,000 to 600,000.
Do you want us to come up with those sample questions for next meeting, or do you want us to come up with them beforehand?
next meeting,
Get
yeah,
them in, okay.
yeah, so.
And those who
Come
wanna
up with
hit the
survey.
ground running before that.
No, get the questions. You want to rank and be on.
If you wanna send them the week before though, if that's possible, so we can send them out with the agenda and then people can think about it.
That was what it was.
All right. Anything else? We've done our marching orders? All right. We're good to go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. So we never figured out a nice timeline for the recording.
Hey, Cam, do you mind just sending me the electronic version?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Got you.
Thanks, Pat.
Oh,
Where is the next meeting?
It's always going to be the third Monday of the month, so
Okay, thank you.
21st of October. Susan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I think somebody just asked for, or might have been you, had asked for an electronic version of that handout from Kim, and I was just gonna request the same. I didn't want to interrupt anything, but I mean, if she's shooting out an email, that would be awesome.
I don't know if she'll just send it to me, so I would just shoot her an email. She just went out the door, so.
Okay, no problem. All right,
Yeah.
thanks. No problem. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.